Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Today, I have the pleasure and privilege of introducing two students, Christina and Matei, to you. I consider myself a very lucky teacher to be able to work with students like this on an yearly basis. But I also realize that there have been many, many teachers along the way. I'm not the only one. They've had dozens of teachers through their K-12 education, so I feel like I speak on their behalf. In Christina's case, especially with respect to AP Fine Arts, she was also, so I'm the AP Music Theory teacher, but she was also in Mr. Derricott's AP Art History class at our school. In fact, last year she was a finalist in the Art History essay portion of the Young Masters exhibit at the DMA. So unfortunately, though, Mr. Derricott couldn't be here today, so I speak on his behalf as well. So to present a list of academic and artistic accomplishments in Christina's case, you know, this is typically what happens right now, but we'll be just kind of touching on the tip of the iceberg, I think, in her case. She's a national level debater, a member of the reigning national champion team in the World Affairs Council of America Academic World Quest competition, a title she'll be defending later this month, next month, in Washington, D.C. And on top of all that, in her spare time, she's very active in the community, working with adults with autism and teens with disabilities. She also has her own blog. I'm going to learn how to do that one day. To give you an idea, though, of who Christina is as a person, I actually asked some of my peer teachers what they thought, and actually, this time of year, you know, I say this every year, but this time of year, we're lucky to receive an email back reply, yes, no. But And you guys live your lives who you are, and you're used to people talking in these terms, but this is just, they don't have to say things like this, right? So Ms. Elliott, AP English Literature teacher at her school, says, Christina is in the top 3 best writers I'm teaching this year. And I like you to remember that, best top 3, right? Both the students and I are in awe of her observations. Her essays are magnificent, and I also share them with the other English teachers. Right? And Mr. Scott, our AP Economics teacher, says she's a positive, respectful, perceptive, and insightful person who combines her natural intellect and talents with a fantastic work ethic and determined attitude. Teachers we don't say these things, right? Ms. Smith, our debate team coach, sponsor, says, her perseverance and ability to articulate arguments has made her one of the best debaters in Texas and the nation. For me, I find Christina to be maybe rather reserved, you know, in my class, though she's always engaged, fully participates, sings every day, and her work is always excellent. I almost get the impression that she's observing the world and taking everything in, perhaps out of respect. She seems to prefer to keep her opinions to herself, but when given the floor, such as a private conversation, an essay, a debate instance, it's as though you're talking to somebody in her 30s or maybe 40s in a good way, right? I know the day will come when she would feel more comfortable sharing her thoughts and opinions, and when that day comes, we should be listening, because I think she can make the world a better place. Okay. With that, it's my privilege to introduce to you Christina Lu.
Thank you to everyone for being here today. Before I begin, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to the O'Donnells. Everyone on the scholarship committee, you've all been so helpful, and my parents who are here today, Mr. Sato and Mr. Derricott, who could not be here today, but both of these teachers have been really instrumental and helpful over the past year and the past 2 years. So I'm very thankful to all of them. So my education in art and music began when I was maybe a toddler. I started piano when I was 4 years old, and art maybe a few years after that. And back then, I was pretty much just messing around. There were color pencils all over my desk. I had sheet music all over the floor, and I didn't know what I was doing. And now, many years later, it's still the case that everything is messed up. But I find that art and music have both been immense sources of comfort. So when I come back from a long school day, I've usually been in school for maybe 8 hours and then another 2 hours at debate practice. And at that point, I really just kind of want to be like my own person. And being a pretty introverted person, I really like when I have my own solitary time. So that is it's partially what art means to me. As a person who considers myself somebody who does art, I really like it when I not only have the chance to express myself, but it's also like a conversation with my own mind. But aside from art and music just being a relationship between me and myself, it's also really helped connect me with others. So the first time that I noticed this happening was actually in 8th grade. And so my middle school has this like really long hallway, and there would be these gray stone pillars next to many of the classrooms in the hallway. And we would always walk by these pillars and be like, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we decorated them and put something on there to make the school look better? And we, being me and my friends, we were like two 12, 13-year-olds, and we pretty much had no power to do anything. So we went to the administration, and with the support of our art teacher, we asked if maybe we could paint something on these pillars. And the administration could have very easily said no and hired somebody to come in over the summer and paint something that was probably much better than what we could do. But they decided to give us a chance, and they put their faith in 2 or 3 preteens and decided that we could paint pretty much whatever we wanted. So that, as a kid who was like barely out of elementary school at the time, that was the first time that I noticed that art has the power to take the individual and take like their ideas and put them into a public space. So for the next 2 months, what me and my friends did was we would sometimes be excused from class. We would come in after school, we would come in during art class, and we would basically pour everything that we had into this huge mural on one of these gray stone pillars. And the mural was outside of our art class. So what we did was we painted the entire thing black. We put a huge paintbrush on it, we put a huge palette on it, and then on top of that, we wrote in very articulate letters, art. And that was our great masterpiece. So now if you walk back there, you won't see our names on there, and you won't see any trace that we did what we did. But I think it definitely speaks to the ability of art to take a public space and kind of give it like a story that maybe not everybody knows. So since then, I've realized 2 things about myself. I've realized that number 1, I would much rather work in a team than alone. And number 2, I should take value from the things that I create and not necessarily the things that I have or the things that I achieve. Because achievements and possessions can be really nice to have, but when you create something, that's what really lasts in the minds of other people around you. And I think that's what matters a lot more than everything else in the world. So since then, I've tried to apply that to various areas of my life. Aside from painting at a studio and continuing doing debate and playing piano on the side, me and my friends have also done a couple of fun things. So last year, we decided that we could be programmers. And having not done program like ever in our lives, we decided to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and combine those with art, which we had a passion for. So we created a DIY arts and crafts website, and that was really fun. And the year before that, I, being somebody who likes to write, and a lot of my friends being really funny people, I can't claim the same, we put our talents together and we decided to make a satirical newspaper at our junior high. And that gained a little bit of attention, and our administrator actually asked us if they could have a T-shirt with the name of the newspaper on it, and I still consider that to be my greatest achievement up until now. So next fall, I haven't completely decided where I wanted to go to college, but I'm leaning very heavily towards the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton, and I am also totally undecided as to what I want to do, so if anybody has any ideas, they should come and try to convince me to do it. But I know art and music will always be parts of my life. I definitely can't live without them. I really can't imagine my life without them. And I hope that in whatever career field that I choose, I'll be able to incorporate some of the creative aspects of art and music, and not only, pursue a career, but also do a lot of things on the side and maybe integrate those and create something that impacts others. Thank you very much.